50 Amish gardening hacks you'll wish you knew sooner for growing food faster. The Amish mastered their gardens without machinery, chemicals, or modern gadgets. These 50 time-tested gardening hacks will revolutionize your backyard, and you'll wish you knew them sooner. Let's have a look. Food prices have skyrocketed across America. With grocery bills climbing higher every month and supply chain disruptions threatening our food security, there's never been a more crucial time to become self-sufficient. While you're standing in checkout lines watching your bill climb to shocking heights, the Amish are quietly harvesting abundant crops using methods passed down for generations. What many Americans don't realize is that the solution to food security isn't found in modern technology, but in the time-tested wisdom of communities who've perfected growing food without electricity, chemicals, or fancy equipment. The Amish have managed to feed large families from modest plots of land for centuries, and their methods work just as effectively today as they did hundreds of years ago. These 50 Amish gardening hacks aren't just clever tricks, they're survival tools for uncertain times. And in today's world, these forgotten techniques might be your family's best defense against empty grocery shelves and unaffordable food prices. 1. Place copper pennies in pots. The Amish have long valued simple, natural solutions for gardening challenges. One such method involves placing copper pennies in plant pots, a practice that has gained popularity beyond their community. When you drop a clean penny into the soil before adding your plants, it acts as a natural defense system against unwanted fungi. The science behind this trick is fascinating. Copper ions slowly release into the soil, creating an environment where mold and mildew struggle to survive. It's like having a tiny guardian for your plant's root system, working 24/7 to keep things healthy. Many gardeners spend hundreds of dollars on commercial fungicides, but this 1-cent solution might be all you need. Just remember to clean your penny first. That green patina might look vintage chic, but it won't help your plants thrive. Ezekiel Fisher, an Amish farmer from Lancaster County, tells me, "My grandfather taught me to place copper pennies in our tomato beds before planting. We've been doing it for generations, and our tomatoes rarely suffer from fungal issues." For modern gardeners, this trick works perfectly in container gardens, raised beds, or anywhere you're concerned about fungal problems. Make sure to use pennies minted before 1982, as these contain more copper than newer ones. 2. Water plants with cooled boiled egg. Water next time you're boiling eggs for breakfast. Don't dump that water down the drain. Instead, channel your inner resourceful farmer and save it for your plants. The Amish community's waste not philosophy perfectly aligns with this eco-friendly practice. The water becomes enriched with calcium as the eggs cook, creating a natural supplement that helps plants develop stronger cell walls. Think of it as a protein shake for your greenery, minus the expensive protein powder and fancy shaker bottle. This nutrient-rich solution is particularly beneficial for tomatoes and peppers, which often suffer from calcium deficiency. For best results, let the water cool completely before using it. Your plants don't appreciate hot baths any more than you'd enjoy a freezing shower. Studies have shown that plants treated with egg water show 15% more robust growth compared to those watered normally. In modern households where we're all cooking at home more to save money, this hack transforms kitchen waste into garden gold. When my tomatoes started showing blossom end rot last summer, my Amish neighbor Sarah told me about using egg water, says Emily Turner from Ohio. Within weeks, my new tomatoes were growing perfectly. It saved my entire crop. 3. Use leftover tea as fertilizer. Who knew your morning cup of Earl Grey could pull double duty? After enjoying your tea, those used leaves have another purpose waiting in your garden. Drawing inspiration from traditional farming practices, including those of the Amish who believe in making the most of every resource, tea leaves can transform into powerful plant food. The secret lies in the tannins and various nutrients that remain in the used leaves. Simply scatter the cooled tea leaves around your plants, or bury the entire tea bag near the roots. The leaves slowly decompose, releasing their goodness into the soil like a time-released vitamin pill. One interesting fact most gardeners don't know: green tea leaves contain up to 4 times more nitrogen than coffee grounds, making them especially valuable for leafy plants. Just remember to remove any staples from tea bags before adding them to your garden. Your plants prefer their tea without metal accessories. This practice fits perfectly into our modern sustainability efforts. Instead of sending tea bags to landfills, they become part of your garden's nutrient cycle. Rebecca Zook, an Amish gardener known for her lush gardens in central Ohio, notes, "We never waste anything that can feed our soil. Tea leaves are especially good for herbs and leafy greens. They respond with such vigor you can almost see them growing. 4. Enrich soil with coffee grounds. Most people toss their used coffee grounds in the trash, but gardening wisdom passed down through generations, including from Amish communities, suggests a better use. These grounds pack a powerful punch of nitrogen, making them perfect for enriching your garden soil. Scientists have found that coffee grounds contain about 2% nitrogen by volume, which might sound small, but it's exactly what your plants crave. Sprinkle them around the base of your plants or mix them into your compost pile. Just don't go overboard, as too much can make your soil too acidic. An old farmer once joked that his tomatoes were so caffeinated they picked themselves in the morning. While that might be stretching the truth, coffee grounds do help create the kind of rich, fertile soil that makes plants thrive. Even your earthworms will thank you. They love processing coffee grounds almost as much as humans love drinking it. For apartment dwellers or those with small gardens, coffee grounds offer a free soil amendment that would otherwise cost you at the garden center. Many coffee shops even set aside used grounds for gardeners. Just ask. We see the modern world throwing away what the soil needs, says Amish Lapp, a traditional Amish farmer. Coffee grounds feed the soil microbes, and they feed our plants. This is how we maintain gardens that produce for decades without chemical fertilizers. 5. Start seedlings in eggshells using eggshells as tiny plant pots. Might sound like something from a Pinterest board, but it's actually a time-tested technique that would make any Amish gardener proud. Half an eggshell makes the perfect biodegradable starter pot for your seedlings. The process is simple. Crack your eggs carefully, keeping the larger half intact, rinse them out, and poke a small drainage hole in the bottom. Fill them with soil, plant your seeds, and watch nature work its magic. The real genius here is that when your seedlings are ready for the garden, you can plant the whole thing, shell and all. As the shell breaks down, it releases calcium into the soil, giving your young plants an extra boost. This method embodies the Amish principle of resourcefulness, using what you already have instead of buying plastic pots. For today's environmentally conscious gardeners, it reduces plastic waste while improving plant health. Martha King, who grew up in an Amish household before moving to suburban Philadelphia, maintains this tradition in her modern lifestyle. My neighbors spend money on seed starting kits, while I'm reusing what would be waste. My tomato seedlings are always stronger because they get that calcium boost right from the start. Plus, my children love helping with this project. It teaches them about reusing resources. 6. Save and dry seeds. Long before garden centers existed, communities like the Amish perfected the art of seed saving. It's like creating a time capsule of your garden's greatest hits. The trick is to choose seeds from your healthiest, most productive plants, those overachievers that produce the juiciest tomatoes or the crunchiest cucumbers. After collecting, dry them thoroughly in a cool, dark place. Moisture is the enemy here. One drop can turn your carefully saved seeds into a science experiment gone wrong. Some gardeners have reported success rates of up to 90% with properly stored seeds, compared to just 60% with commercially bought ones. Label everything clearly. Unless you enjoy the surprise of planting what you think are carrots and ending up with pumpkins, store them in paper envelopes or glass jars, and you'll have a treasure trove ready for next spring's garden adventure. With seed prices rising and varieties disappearing from commercial catalogs, this Amish practice has become more relevant than ever. Seed saving preserves biodiversity and connects us to our food in a deeper way. Each seed carries the story of seasons past, explains Elder Miller, an Amish farmer with decades of experience. When you save your own seeds, you're selecting for plants that thrive in your specific soil and climate. No store-bought seed can match that. 7. Compost kitchen scraps. Turning kitchen waste into garden gold is a practice that dates back centuries. Those banana peels, coffee grounds, and apple cores you've been throwing away could be feeding your garden instead. The Amish have perfected this waste-nothing approach, transforming about 75% of their kitchen scraps into rich compost. Layer your kitchen waste with dried leaves, grass clippings, and a sprinkle of soil in a bin or pile. Nature's recycling system kicks in as microorganisms break down the materials into dark, crumbly compost that gardeners often call black gold. The process can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months, depending on your climate and how often you turn the pile. My grandmother used to say her compost pile was like a soap opera, lots of drama happening beneath the surface with billions of microbes playing leading roles. Just remember to keep meat and dairy out of your pile. unless you want to host a neighborhood raccoon convention. In today's world, where organic fertilizers are becoming increasingly expensive, composting offers a free alternative that often works better than commercial products. Even apartment dwellers can participate using compact composting systems designed for small spaces. Eli Yoder, who maintains a small market garden using traditional methods, shares the soil needs to be fed just as we do. When you return kitchen scraps to the earth, you're completing a cycle that has sustained farms for centuries. The richness of your soil determines the health of your food. 8. Scatter hair for pest control. In the heart of Amish country, gardeners have been using an unusual but effective pest deterrent, human hair. Before you dismiss this as an old wives' tale, consider this: studies show that deer and rabbits actively avoid areas where they detect human scent. Simply collect hair from your hairbrush or your local barbershop. If you're feeling ambitious, and scatter it around your garden's perimeter. As it decomposes, hair releases nitrogen into the soil, making it a 2-for-1 solution for pest control and fertilization. One handful of hair contains enough nitrogen to feed a square foot of garden for up to 6 months. Plus, you'll finally have a good answer when someone asks what happened to all their missing hair ties. Clearly, they're part of your sophisticated garden security system. This approach embodies the Amish philosophy of working with nature rather than against it. Instead of harmful chemicals, they use natural deterrents that benefit the ecosystem. For modern gardeners dealing with urban wildlife, this technique offers a humane solution to keeping critters at bay. I was skeptical until the deer stopped decimating my hostas, admits James Peterson, a suburban gardener who learned this trick from his Amish-raised neighbor. Now I collect hair from my family's brushes all winter to prepare for spring planting. It's been more effective than any commercial repellent I've tried. 9. Rotate crops to preserve soil nutrients. The concept of crop rotation might sound fancy, but it's really just musical chairs for plants. Following traditional Amish farming wisdom, moving your crops to different spots each season keeps your soil healthy and productive. Each type of plant takes different nutrients from the soil, and some, like peas and beans, even give back by adding nitrogen. A typical rotation might go from heavy feeders like tomatoes to nitrogen-fixing beans, followed by light feeders like carrots. Research shows that proper crop rotation can increase yields by up to 20% while reducing pest problems by 30%. The trick is keeping track of what went where. Some gardeners draw maps, while others rely on memory, and end up with surprise vegetables popping up in unexpected places. Maybe that's why they call it a growing experience. Today's home gardeners can apply this principle even in small spaces. By dividing your garden into zones and rotating plant families annually, you can maintain soil health without expensive amendments. Jacob Stoltzfus, who manages several acres of vegetables without synthetic inputs, explains, "The land tells you what it needs if you listen. When we force the same crop in the same soil year after year, we're not listening." Rotation lets the soil rest and rebuild between demanding crops. 10. Use broken terracotta pots as markers. When life gives you broken pots, make garden markers. This resourceful idea embodies the Amish principle of finding new purposes for broken things. Those shattered terracotta pots that would normally end up in the trash can become charming, weatherproof plant markers. Simply write the names of your plants on the broken pieces with a permanent marker and stick them in the soil near each plant. The natural orange-brown color blends perfectly with your garden's aesthetic, and unlike plastic markers, these won't fade or crack in the sun. One clever gardener reported that her terracotta markers have lasted 5 years and counting. Just be careful when handling the broken pieces. You don't want your garden markers to turn into a game of guess which finger needs a bandage. And who knows, maybe your clumsy moments in the garden were actually just preparing you for this creative recycling project all along. In our community, nothing is wasted, says Emma Byler, who grew up in an Amish household. Finding new purpose for broken items trains your mind to see possibilities instead of problems. This thinking extends beyond the garden and into all aspects of life. For modern gardeners looking to reduce plastic use, this solution offers both sustainability and rustic charm that complements any garden style. 11. Bury fish scraps for fertilization. The ancient practice of burying fish scraps, still used in many Amish gardens, might sound fishy, but the results are remarkable. Dig a hole about 12 inches deep near your plants, add the fish scraps, and cover them with soil. As the fish decomposes, it releases a powerful cocktail of nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, exactly what your plants need for strong growth. Studies show that fish-fertilized soil contains up to 3 times more nitrogen than untreated soil. Just make sure to bury the scraps deep enough, unless you want your garden to become the neighborhood cat's new favorite hangout spot. My uncle once said his tomatoes grew so big using this method that he had to hire a weightlifter to harvest them. While that might be a slight exaggeration, the results are genuinely impressive. This technique connects modern gardeners to indigenous wisdom that sustained communities for thousands of years. Native American tribes taught early European settlers to bury fish with corn seeds, a lesson the Amish and other sustainable farming communities have preserved. We used this method last year for our corn patch, reports Daniel Fisher, who maintains traditional farming practices. The stalks grew nearly 12 feet tall, and each plant produced multiple ears. The soil remembers this feeding for several seasons afterward. 12. Boost plants with manure tea. Creating manure tea might not be the most glamorous gardening task, but even the Amish know that sometimes the best solutions aren't the prettiest ones. This nutrient-rich brew is made by steeping aged manure in water, creating a liquid fertilizer that plants absolutely love. Fill a cloth bag with well-composted manure, submerge it in water, and let it steep for several days, like making the world's least appetizing cup of tea. The resulting liquid contains concentrated nutrients that are easily absorbed by plant roots. Dilute it until it looks like weak tea before applying it to your plants. One 5-gallon batch can feed an entire garden for weeks. Just remember to keep the special brew far away from your regular tea collection. Mixing up those containers could lead to a gardening story you'll never live down. For urban and suburban gardeners without access to farm manure, this technique can be adapted using commercially available composted manure or specialized compost tea brewing kits. Ruth Lapp, whose family has farmed the same land for generations, shares chemical fertilizers give plants a quick boost, but manure tea nourishes them completely. It's like the difference between eating candy for energy versus having a balanced meal. The plants grow stronger and produce better when they receive this complex nutrition. 13. Practice companion planting. Some plants are just better together, like an old married couple who figured out how to complement each other perfectly. Taking a page from traditional Amish farming practices, companion planting pairs plants that help each other thrive. Tomatoes and basil are the garden's power couple. The basil improves tomato flavor while repelling pests, and both plants seem happier together. Marigolds and vegetables are another winning combination, with the flowers acting as natural pest control. Research shows gardens using companion planting experience up to 40% fewer pest problems than those with single crops. Even carrots and onions get along famously. The onion's strong scent confuses carrot flies, while carrots help deter onion pests. It's like running a botanical matchmaking service where everyone benefits. Just avoid planting beans near onions. That relationship is about as successful as a cat trying to befriend a water sprinkler. This approach embodies the Amish principle of working with nature's systems rather than fighting against them. Modern gardeners are rediscovering these plant relationships as part of the movement towards sustainable, chemical-free gardening. When I switched from rows of single crops to companion planting, everything changed, explains Sarah Miller, who learned gardening from her Amish grandmother. My garden became more resilient. When one pest showed up, there were beneficial insects already in place to handle the problem. The garden started taking care of itself. By 14, grow potatoes in barrels. The Amish have long known that sometimes the best gardens grow up instead of out. Growing potatoes in barrels is like playing Jenga with your food. You keep stacking and adding, and eventually you win big with a barrel full of spuds. Start by placing seed potatoes in the bottom of a barrel with some soil. Then add more soil as the plants grow. Each time you add soil, the potato plant produces more tubers along its buried stem. One barrel can yield up to 100 pounds of potatoes in the same space where traditional methods might give you 20. My neighbor tried this method and said his potato harvest was so abundant, he considered opening a French fry stand. The best part? When harvest time comes, just tip over the barrel and collect your treasure. It's like a pirate's chest filled with edible gold. For modern gardeners with limited space, this vertical growing technique transforms even small patios or balconies into productive food sources. Clean food-grade plastic barrels, wooden whiskey barrels, or purpose-built potato planters all work well for this method. Abraham Zook, who grows dozens of potato varieties using traditional methods, explains potatoes naturally want to produce more when their stems are buried. In the barrel method, we're just helping them do what they already want to do. It's not forcing nature, but working alongside it. 15. Mix tiny seeds with cornmeal scattering. Tiny seeds evenly used to be as tricky as trying to count grains of sand, until someone in an Amish community came up with this brilliant hack. By mixing small seeds with cornmeal, you turn those nearly invisible specks into something you can actually see and distribute evenly. The pale yellow cornmeal acts as a carrier, making it easy to spot where you've already sown and where you need to add more. Garden trials show this method improves germination rates by up to 30% compared to direct seeding. The cornmeal also helps prevent clumping, ensuring your carrots won't end up growing in clusters tighter than teenagers at a pop concert. Plus, any seeds the birds might steal come with a complimentary breakfast, though most gardeners prefer to keep both the seeds and cornmeal for their intended purpose. This solution perfectly demonstrates the Amish approach to problem solving, using simple, available materials creatively, rather than purchasing specialized equipment. For the modern gardener, it offers a cost-effective alternative to seed-spreading tools. We learned this trick from necessity, says Hannah Yoder, who maintains a 1-acre vegetable garden. When you're planting tiny carrot or lettuce seeds by hand across a big garden, you need to see where they're going. The cornmeal makes the invisible visible. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. 16. Collect rainwater for irrigation. Harvesting rainwater isn't just good for your garden, it's good for your wallet too. Following the sustainable practices of Amish communities, placing barrels under your downspouts can collect hundreds of gallons of free, chemical-free water each year. Studies show that a typical roof can collect over 600 gallons of water from just 1 inch of rainfall. Unlike tap water, rainwater contains no chlorine or fluoride, making it the champagne of plant hydration. The water's natural acidity helps nutrients become more available to plant roots, leading to healthier growth. One gardener joked that her rain barrel collection got so extensive her neighbors started calling her property the water park. Just remember to cover your barrels with screens to keep out mosquitoes, unless you're trying to start a backyard bug sanctuary. With water restrictions becoming more common and utility rates rising, this Amish practice has found renewed relevance. Modern systems can be as simple as a single barrel or as complex as underground cisterns that supply entire irrigation systems. Elmer Stoltzfus, who relies entirely on rainwater for his extensive vegetable gardens, notes water that falls from the sky is a gift we should receive with gratitude. The plants respond differently to rainwater. You can see it in their vigor. Plus, during dry spells, we have reserves when others are watching their gardens wither. 17. Clean tools with vinegar. Garden tools are like old friends. Treat them right and they'll stick around forever. Taking a cue from Amish craftsmanship, where tools are often passed down through generations. A simple vinegar bath can keep your garden implements in prime condition. Soaking rusty tools in white vinegar for a few hours breaks down rust and grime faster than you can say, "Where did I leave my trowel?" The acetic acid in vinegar is strong enough to dissolve rust, but gentle enough not to damage the metal underneath. Research shows tools cleaned regularly with vinegar last up to 3 times longer than neglected ones. After cleaning, dry them thoroughly. Wet tools are about as useful as a chocolate teapot. And while your tools are soaking, resist the urge to make a vinegar-based salad dressing with the same vinegar. Some things just shouldn't be mixed. This approach reflects the Amish value of stewardship, taking proper care of possessions, so they provide years of service. In today's throwaway culture, maintaining tools instead of replacing them represents both environmental responsibility and economic wisdom. But my father still uses the same garden fork his grandfather used, shares Joseph Miller, a traditional farmer. When you buy quality tools and maintain them properly, they become companions in your work rather than disposable items. Each tool carries the history of gardens past. 18. Repel insects with marigolds. The humble marigold might look like just another pretty face in the garden, but it's actually a powerful ally in pest control, a fact well known in Amish gardens. These bright flowers act like bouncers at an exclusive plant club, keeping unwanted insects away from your precious vegetables. Their strong scent confuses pests, while their roots release compounds that repel nematodes and other soil-dwelling troublemakers. Tests have shown gardens with marigold borders experienced up to 60% fewer aphid problems than those without. Plant them around your vegetable beds, and suddenly your garden becomes the neighborhood's no-fly zone for unwanted bugs. As my grandmother used to say, marigolds are like tiny golden guard dogs for your garden, except they don't bark at the mailman or need to be walked twice a day. This natural pest control strategy exemplifies the Amish approach to gardening, working with nature rather than against it. For modern gardeners seeking to reduce chemical use, Marigolds offer an effective alternative that adds beauty while providing protection. Rachel King, whose family has operated a small CSA farm for generations, explains, "We plant marigolds everywhere between tomato plants, alongside beans and around the perimeter of the garden. They're our first line of defense against insects. Plus, they bring in beneficial pollinators. Their cheerful color reminds us that gardens should be both beautiful and practical." 19. Grow what you love. What's the point of growing vegetables you'll never eat? Taking inspiration from practical Amish wisdom, focus on planting foods your family actually enjoys. Studies show home gardeners waste up to 30% of their harvest on crops nobody wants to eat. That experimental artichoke patch might sound exciting, but if your family thinks artichokes are as appealing as eating pine cones, you might want to reconsider. Instead, start with crowd pleasers like tomatoes, lettuce, or herbs that you use regularly in cooking. A successful garden isn't measured by its variety, but by how empty your plates are after dinner. One gardener tracked her family's vegetable consumption for a year and discovered they ate 20 times more snap peas than Brussels sprouts. Needless to say, her garden planning got much simpler after that. Remember, the best tasting vegetables are the ones that actually make it to your table. This approach combines Amish practicality with modern concerns about food waste. By focusing on vegetables your family will actually consume, you maximize the impact of your gardening efforts while minimizing waste. "We grow what feeds us well," says Mary Lapp, who maintains a productive kitchen garden. "Fancy vegetables that get thrown away are a waste of soil, water, and effort. Better to grow a smaller variety of things you love than to waste resources on crops nobody appreciates." 20. Sow densely, then transplanting. Gardening, sometimes being crowded, is a good thing. Just ask any Amish farmer starting their spring seedlings. Start by sowing seeds close together in a small area, treating them like teenagers at a concert, packed but still able to breathe. Once your seedlings reach about 2 inches tall, carefully separate and transplant the strongest ones to their final homes. This method saves space during the crucial early growing period and lets you select the most vigorous plants. Research indicates that densely sown seeds have a 15% higher germination rate due to shared warmth and moisture. Plus, it's like running a plant beauty pageant where everyone's a winner. The strongest get prime garden real estate, while the smaller ones can be tucked into container gardens or shared with neighbors. This space-efficient approach works particularly well for modern gardeners with limited growing areas. By starting seeds densely, you can produce dozens of seedlings in a single container, then select only the healthiest for transplanting. Samuel Fisher, whose family farm produces vegetables for several local markets, shares dense sowing creates competition among seedlings. They reach for light and grow stronger than pampered plants. We might start with hundreds of tomato seedlings in a small cold frame, but only the strongest 50 or 60 make it to the field. Those survivors produce our best harvests. 21. Plant seeds point down. Plant seeds point down. Taking a cue from generations of Amish gardeners who've mastered the art of seed starting, positioning seeds with their pointed end facing downward can significantly improve germination rates. It's like giving your seeds a compass that always points to growth. The pointy end naturally contains the root tip, and when it's already facing the right direction, the seed doesn't waste energy figuring out which way is up. Studies show properly oriented seeds germinate up to 2 days faster than randomly planted ones. Sure, it takes a bit more time to plant this way, but your seeds will thank you by popping up faster than a prairie dog at a picnic. Just remember, this only works with obviously pointed seeds. Trying to find the pointy end of a carrot seed might drive you slightly crazy. This technique represents the meticulous attention to detail that characterizes successful Amish gardeners. For modern gardeners wanting quick results, those extra minutes spent orienting seeds translate to days saved in germination time. Elizabeth Zook, who supplies heirloom seedlings to her community, explains seeds know which way they want to grow. When we help them start in the right direction, they reward us with quicker, stronger growth. It's a small thing that makes a big difference, like so many aspects of gardening. 22. Control weeds with vinegar. Battling weeds doesn't always require expensive chemical warfare. The Amish have long favored natural solutions like vinegar to keep unwanted plants at bay. White vinegar, 5% acetic acid content, makes it a formidable opponent against weeds, especially on sunny days when the acid's effect is strongest. Studies show vinegar can kill up to 80% of weeds within 24 hours of application. For tougher customers, horticultural vinegar with 20% acetic acid can be used. though it requires careful handling due to its strength. A gardener once said her vinegar spray was so effective, even the dandelions started bringing their own salad dressing. But seriously, apply these solutions carefully. They're like that friend who doesn't know the meaning of personal space, affecting everything they touch. Keep them away from your prized plants, unless you're going for that post-apocalyptic garden look. For today's environmentally conscious gardeners, vinegar offers an alternative to chemical herbicides that can contaminate soil and water. The application needs to be more frequent, but many consider this a worthwhile trade-off. Jacob Miller, who maintains weed-free pathways throughout his extensive gardens, shares his approach. We spray vinegar on a hot, sunny day when the weeds are actively growing. Within hours, you can see them withering. The trick is consistency, catching new weeds when they're small rather than waiting until they've established themselves. 23. Feed tomato plants with banana peels. Your morning banana could be the secret to growing prize-winning tomatoes. In the spirit of waste-free Amish gardening, those peels pack a potassium punch that tomato plants crave like teenagers crave pizza. Cut the peels into small pieces and bury them an inch deep around your tomato plants. As they decompose, they release potassium, which helps develop stronger stems and more flavorful fruit. Laboratory tests show banana peels contain up to 42% potassium, making them nature's energy drink for plants. One clever gardener started calling her garden the Banana Republics after using this method, claiming her tomatoes grew so big they needed their own zip code. Just don't go overboard. Your tomatoes might love banana peels, but your neighbors might not love the fruit fly convention you're hosting. This approach perfectly illustrates the Amish principle of finding uses for items that would otherwise be discarded. For modern households trying to reduce waste, this transforms kitchen scraps into garden resources. Martha Yoder, whose family supplies tomatoes to local markets, explains her technique. We save banana peels all winter in the freezer, then chop and add them to the soil when planting tomatoes in spring. The slow release of potassium continues all season, just when the plants need it most for fruit production. Our tomatoes are known for being especially sweet. I believe the bananas deserve some credit for that. 24. Enrich soil with crushed eggshells. Following time-tested Amish practices of using every resource wisely, crushed eggshells are like calcium supplements for your garden soil. Instead of tossing them in the trash, save those shells and give them a second life, nurturing your plants. Crush them finely. The smaller the pieces, the faster they break down and release their calcium goodness. Research indicates soil enriched with crushed eggshells has up to 20% more available calcium than untreated soil. This extra calcium helps prevent blossom end rot in tomatoes and strengthens plant cell walls across the board. Plus, the sharp edges of crushed shells discourage slugs and snails who apparently don't enjoy crossing what feels like a microscopic bed of nails. One gardener joked that her plants got more calcium than her breakfast cereal, and her tomatoes never complained about having to drink their milk. For modern gardeners concerned about sustainable practices, this repurposes a common kitchen waste item into a valuable soil amendment. The calcium from eggshells is particularly beneficial in container gardens where nutrients can quickly become depleted. Eli Fisher, who supplies eggs and produce to his community, shares we collect eggshells year-round, crush them in an old coffee grinder kept just for this purpose, and add them to our soil each spring. It's particularly important for tomatoes and peppers, but all plants benefit from the added minerals. The soil remembers what you give it. 25. Deadhead flowers for more blooms. Regular deadheading is like giving your flowering plants a fresh haircut. It keeps them looking sharp and encourages new growth. Drawing from Amish gardening practices that focus on maximizing yields through simple maintenance, removing spent flowers prevents plants from wasting energy on seed production. Studies show deadheaded plants produce up to 50% more blooms throughout the season. Simply pinch or cut off faded flowers just above the nearest healthy leaf or bud. Each removed bloom sends a signal to the plant to produce more flowers. Kind of like hitting the garden's refresh button. One enthusiastic gardener claimed her marigolds got so excited about deadheading, they started dropping their old blooms themselves, though that might have had more to do with the wind than any horticultural self-awareness. Just remember to save a few blooms at the end of the season if you want to collect seeds. This technique applies equally well to ornamental gardens and edible landscapes. For herbs like basil and vegetables like beans, regular harvesting serves the same purpose, encouraging continued production. Deadheading is like a conversation with your plants, explains Sarah Lapp, whose flower garden supplies fresh bouquets throughout summer. When you remove spent blooms, you're telling the plant I need more flowers, and the plant responds. It's a relationship. You give attention, and the plants give beauty in return. 26. Repel rabbits with urine. Before you wrinkle your nose at this tip, consider that even Amish farmers have used this surprisingly effective method to protect their gardens. Predator urine, whether from humans or dogs, creates an invisible fence that makes rabbits think twice about turning your garden into their personal salad bar. Research indicates gardens protected by urine barriers experience 70% fewer rabbit visits than unprotected plots. Dilute the urine with water, 1 part urine to 10 parts water, and spray it around your garden's perimeter. One gardener joked that his garden became so well protected, the rabbits started wearing tiny gas masks. Just be considerate about when you apply this deterrent. Your neighbors might not appreciate watching you maintain your garden borders during their backyard barbecue. For those who find this method too direct, commercial predator urine products are available that work on the same principle. However, the Amish approach of using what's freely available certainly saves money. Jacob Stoltzfus, who maintains extensive vegetable gardens without fencing, shares his experience. Animals survive by avoiding predators. When they smell what they think is a fox or dog, they stay away. It's not about harming the rabbits. It's about speaking to them in a language they understand so they choose to eat elsewhere. 27. Protect fruits with straw. Among the many practical insights gleaned from Amish farming communities, using straw to protect ground-lying fruits ranks among the most effective. By creating a protective barrier between your fruits and the soil, you're essentially giving them a clean, dry bed to rest on. This simple technique reduces fruit rot by up to 60% and keeps soil-dwelling pests at bay. It's particularly effective for strawberries, melons, and pumpkins. Anything that likes to lounge around on the ground while ripening. The straw also helps retain soil moisture and suppress weed growth, making it a multitasking garden superhero. Just make sure to use clean, seed-free straw, unless you're secretly planning to start a grain field under your fruit plants. Modern gardeners find this technique particularly valuable, as it doesn't require specialized materials. Straw or hay from garden centers or farm supply stores works perfectly. Even dried grass clippings can serve the same purpose in smaller gardens. Emma Miller, whose family produces prize-winning melons, explains the fruits need to stay clean and dry to develop their sweetness. When they sit directly on soil, they're constantly drawing moisture from below, which dilutes their flavor. The straw creates the perfect balance, protection from below, while the sun concentrates the sweetness from above. 28. Mow grass. When dry, cutting wet grass is like trying to give a haircut to a wet dog, messy and inefficient. The Amish, known for their timing-sensitive farming practices, understand that dry grass leads to cleaner cuts and healthier lawns. When grass blades are dry, they stand upright like tiny soldiers, making it easier for mower blades to deliver clean, even cuts. Studies show mowing dry grass reduces the spread of lawn diseases by up to 40% compared to cutting wet grass. Plus, dry clippings scatter more evenly instead of clumping into those unsightly lawn-killing piles. One homeowner claimed his wet-mowed lawn looked like it had been styled by a blindfolded barber during an earthquake. The bonus? Your mower won't get clogged with wet clippings, and you won't have to perform the dreaded underdeck cleanout nearly as often. This principle extends to harvesting herbs as well. Cutting when plants are dry preserves more essential oils and flavors. The Amish understanding of timing in garden maintenance demonstrates their deep observational knowledge. Benjamin Lapp, who maintains several acres without power equipment, notes working with nature's rhythms means paying attention to conditions. Cutting grass after dew has dried, but before afternoon heat stresses the plants produces the cleanest cut with the least stress. The grass recovers quickly and grows back healthier. 29. Water plants at night in summer. Drawing from generations of Amish farming knowledge, watering plants after sunset isn't just about avoiding the heat. It's smart garden science. Night watering allows roots to soak up moisture without competing with evaporation, which can steal up to 60% of water during daytime hours. The cooler temperatures mean water has time to penetrate deeply into the soil, encouraging stronger root growth. Just make sure to water the soil rather than spraying leaves, as wet foliage overnight can lead to fungal issues. Nobody wants their garden turning into a mushroom farm accidentally. A seasoned gardener once said his evening watering routine became so regular that the neighborhood cats started setting their dinner time by his sprinkler schedule. This approach is particularly valuable during summer droughts and water restrictions. By watering when evaporation rates are lowest, gardeners maximize the benefit of every drop. an increasingly important consideration as climate patterns change. We water when the sun goes down and the day's work is done, explains Samuel Yoder, who manages extensive gardens without irrigation systems. The plants have all night to drink deeply before the next day's heat. You can see the difference in the morning. Plants watered at night stand tall and refreshed, while those watered during the day often look stressed by afternoon. 30. Consider drip irrigation. The slow, steady approach to watering championed by Amish farmers proves that sometimes the tortoise really does beat the hare. Drip irrigation delivers water directly to plant roots through small holes in plastic tubing, using up to 50% less water than traditional sprinkler systems. Each plant receives precisely what it needs without waste, like having a personal water butler for every tomato and cucumber in your garden. Research shows plants watered through drip systems grow up to 25% faster than those watered by traditional methods. Installing a basic system isn't rocket science. If you can string holiday lights, you can set up drip irrigation, though one gardener claimed his system was so efficient. His plants started sending thank you notes to the water meter. While traditional Amish gardens might use hand watering techniques, the principles behind drip irrigation align perfectly with their values of conservation and efficiency. Modern gardeners can implement simple gravity-fed systems that don't require electricity, maintaining the spirit of self-sufficiency. Amos Miller, who transitioned from hand watering to a simple drip system, shares, "At first I was resistant to change, but I noticed my neighbor's garden thriving with less effort and water. His tomatoes were twice the size of mine with half the water." Sometimes innovation can honor tradition if it supports the same values. In this case, careful stewardship of resources. 31. Place ice cubes for slow watering. Ever noticed how Amish communities excel at finding simple solutions to complex problems? Using ice cubes for watering plants falls right into that category of brilliant simplicity. Place 2 or 3 ice cubes on the soil surface and let them melt gradually, providing a slow, steady drink that won't overwhelm your plant's roots. This method is particularly effective for orchids and other sensitive plants that hate soggy soil. Research shows plants watered with ice cubes have 30% less root rot than those watered traditionally. It's like setting up a tiny drinking fountain for your plants. No mess, no stress, just steady hydration. One houseplant enthusiast swears her plants started doing the cha-cha when they heard the ice maker running, though that might have been more about her overactive imagination than actual plant behavior. This method works particularly well for modern households with busy schedules. Ice cube watering can be done quickly in the morning before work, providing slow hydration throughout the day without risk of overwatering. Ruth Fisher, who maintains an impressive collection of indoor plants alongside her traditional garden, explains prefer to sip water slowly rather than gulp it all at once. The ice cube method mimics a gentle spring rain rather than a flood. For delicate plants, this gentle approach makes all the difference in their health. 32. Insulate pots with wool socks. The humble wool sock, a staple in any Amish household, turns out to be perfect for keeping plant roots cozy during cold snaps. Just slip an old wool sock over the bottom of your pot, and suddenly you've got a sweater for your plant's feet. Studies indicate pots insulated with wool maintain temperatures up to 15 degrees warmer than unprotected containers. The natural fibers trap air pockets that provide excellent insulation without retaining excess moisture. One creative gardener started a trend in her neighborhood when her sage plants survived a surprise frost. Suddenly, everyone's garden looked like a laundry day gone wrong. Just make sure to use clean socks, unless you're trying to develop a new strain of foot-scented petunias. This technique exemplifies the Amish principle of finding new uses for common household items. For modern gardeners, it offers a sustainable alternative to commercial pot covers while extending the growing season for container plants. We've always used what we have on hand to protect our plants, says Mary Zook, whose family maintains traditions while adapting to modern challenges. Old socks, worn sweaters, these things provide protection for tender plants during cold spells. Why buy something new when what you already own will work perfectly? 33. Sprinkle wood ash on soil for potassium boost. Following time-tested Amish practices of using every resource wisely, those ashes from your fireplace aren't just dust to be discarded. They're garden gold. Wood ash contains about 5% potassium and 2% phosphorus, nutrients that help strengthen plant stems and promote healthy blooming. Sprinkle cooled ashes lightly around your plants, about 1 cup per square yard. The ash also helps neutralize acidic soils, Though you might want to skip this trick around acid-loving plants like blueberries and azaleas. Garden trials show plants treated with wood ash produce up to 20% more flowers than untreated ones. Just remember that a little goes a long way. You're aiming for a light dusting, not recreating a volcanic aftermath. This practice connects modern homeowners with historical farming techniques. For those with wood-burning stoves or fireplaces, it transforms a waste product into a valuable garden resource. Eli Stoltzfus, who heats his home entirely with wood, explains his seasonal routine. Winter's fires become summer's flowers in our community. We collect ash throughout the cold months, store it in metal containers, and apply it to the garden when spring preparations begin. The potassium helps plants stand strong against summer storms and improves fruit quality in our tomatoes and apples. 34. Use onion skins as fertilizer. Those papery onion skins you've been tossing might be worth their weight in garden gold. Drawing from Amish wisdom of using every part of the harvest, onion skins pack a surprising nutritional punch for your plants. They contain up to 20% potassium, 15% calcium, and trace amounts of magnesium, basically a multivitamin for your garden. Soak the skins in water for 3 days to create a nutrient-rich tea, or bury them directly in the soil around your plants. Research shows plants treated with onion skin fertilizer grow up to 25% faster than untreated ones. One gardener claimed her roses became so vigorous after using onion skin tea, they started making other flowers in the neighborhood look lazy. Just remember to bury the skins deep enough. Unless you want your garden to smell like a French restaurant on a busy night. This practice exemplifies the Amish principle that nothing edible should be wasted. Every part of a harvested crop has purpose. Modern households can easily implement this technique as part of a broader effort to reduce kitchen waste. Rebecca Miller, who maintains extensive vegetable gardens using traditional methods, shares in our home, onion skins go into 3 places: soups for flavor, dye pots for coloring Easter eggs, and the garden for feeding plants. Each part of the vegetable serves multiple purposes. This mindfulness connects us to our food in deeper ways. 35. Place coffee filters at the bottom of pots. In the spirit of Amish practicality, coffee filters solve one of container gardening's most annoying problems: soil escaping through drainage holes. These humble paper circles act like tiny bouncers, keeping soil in while letting excess water out. Testing shows pots with coffee filter barriers retain up to 30% more soil during watering than those without. Simply place a filter at the bottom of your pot before adding soil, and you'll never have to deal with dirty water stains on your porch again. One container gardener joked that her coffee filters were working overtime, filtering coffee in the morning and soil in the afternoon. Plus, unlike rocks or broken pottery, coffee filters eventually break down and add organic matter to your soil. Talk about a win-win situation. This solution bridges traditional wisdom with modern convenience. The Amish value of finding multiple uses for everyday items applies perfectly to repurposing used coffee filters for garden tasks. Hannah Fisher, who maintains an impressive container garden on her small property, explains, "My grandmother would use scraps of cloth for this purpose. But coffee filters work even better. They're designed to let water through while holding back solids. Exactly what we want for plant pots. I even rinse and reuse the filters from my morning coffee, getting one more use before they become compost." Aerate soil with chopsticks, taking inspiration from the Amish principle of finding simple solutions to everyday problems. Those extra chopsticks from takeout can become valuable gardening tools. Gently poking holes in compacted soil with chopsticks creates pathways for air, water, and nutrients to reach plant roots. Studies indicate aerated soil absorbs up to 40% more water and nutrients than compacted soil. It's like giving your plant's roots a network of tiny tunnels to explore. Just stick the chopsticks into the soil every few inches, twist gently, and remove. A creative gardener named this technique plant acupunctures and swears her plants look more relaxed afterward. Though if your plants actually start looking more relaxed, you might want to double-check what else you're putting in their soil. This technique applies particularly well to container gardens and houseplants, where soil compaction often limits growth. The simplicity of the solution reflects the Amish approach to problem-solving using available materials. Joseph Yoder, who maintains a small but productive urban garden, shares healthy soil needs to breathe just like people do. When the soil becomes packed down, plants struggle. I use wooden chopsticks to create breathing spaces around my container plants. The difference in growth is remarkable. like the plants have been given fresh air after being stuffed in a closet. 37. Place matchsticks in soil for magnesium. Sometimes the simplest solutions come from unexpected places, a principle well understood in Amish communities. Plain wooden matchsticks, when stuck into your potting soil, slowly release magnesium as they decompose, giving your plants a vital nutrient boost. The sulfur from the match heads also helps lower soil pH, making it perfect for acid-loving plants. Research shows plants given matchstick supplements contain up to 25% more chlorophyll than those without. Place 4 to 6 matchsticks around each plant, pushing them halfway into the soil. One enthusiastic gardener claimed her plants grew so green after using matchsticks, they started giving gardening advice to the neighborhood trees. Just remember to use plain wooden matches. Your plants don't need fancy waterproof or strike anywhere varieties to get their magnesium fix. This approach reflects the Amish principle of finding unexpected uses for common objects, solving problems without creating waste or unnecessary expense. For modern gardeners, it offers an accessible solution for container plants showing signs of magnesium deficiency. Sarah Lapp, who maintains a productive kitchen garden using traditional methods, explains, yellowing leaves often signal magnesium hunger in plants. Before running to the store for supplements, try what you have at home. Our grandparents didn't have garden centers, but they had observational wisdom and creativity. The matchstick trick is just one example of how simple solutions often work best. 38. Make newspaper pots for seedlings. Taking a page from the Amish Handbook of Resourceful Gardening. Yesterday's news can become tomorrow's garden containers. Rolling sheets of newspaper into biodegradable pots saves money and reduces waste while giving your seedlings a perfect start. Studies indicate seedlings grown in newspaper pots experience 40% less transplant shock than those in plastic containers, since you can plant the whole pot directly in the ground. The newspaper breaks down within weeks, feeding the soil as it goes. A creative gardener started calling her newspaper pot collection the Daily Grow, though her plants seemed more interested in growing than reading the headlines. Just avoid using glossy magazine pages, unless you want your tomatoes sporting the latest fashion trends. This technique perfectly embodies the Amish principles of resourcefulness and waste reduction. For modern gardeners concerned about plastic use, it offers an eco-friendly alternative that actually improves plant performance. Amos Fisher, who starts hundreds of seedlings each spring for his family's garden, shares his technique. We've been making paper pots for generations, though in my grandfather's day they used scrap paper rather than newspapers. The plants transition better when their roots aren't disturbed. Plus, it costs nothing but a little time, usually on winter evenings when outdoor work isn't possible. 39. Put plants in the bathroom for humidity boost. Following the Amish principle of working with what nature provides, your bathroom's natural humidity can create a perfect microclimate for certain plants. The steam from showers can raise humidity levels by up to 30%, creating a mini tropical paradise for moisture-loving plants. Ferns, orchids, and peace lilies thrive in this environment, turning your bathroom into a spa-like retreat. Research shows bathroom-dwelling plants grow up to 20% faster than their living room cousins due to the consistent moisture levels. One plant enthusiast said her bathroom jungle got so lush she started charging admission for tours, though that might be stretching the truth a bit. Just make sure your bathroom gets enough natural light, or your tropical paradise might turn into a plant retirement home. While the Amish might not be placing plants in their bathrooms, they understand the principle of creating appropriate microclimates for different plants. This modern application follows their tradition of observing what plants need and finding natural ways to provide it. Martha King, who maintains an impressive collection of houseplants, explains different plants evolved in different conditions. We need to recreate those conditions in our homes. The bathroom mimics a tropical rainforest with its warm, humid air. Plants that struggle in dry living rooms often thrive there without any special attention. 40. Grow cuttings in a potato. Looking for a foolproof way to root plant cuttings? This clever trick, reminiscent of Amish ingenuity, uses the humble potato as a natural rooting medium. The potato provides steady moisture and nutrients while protecting developing roots, increasing success rates by up to 70% compared to traditional methods. Simply cut a potato in half, make a small hole in the center, and insert your cutting about an inch deep. The natural sugars and moisture in the potato help stimulate root growth, while the dense flesh provides perfect support. Plant the potato in cutting directly in soil, keeping just the plant stem above ground. One gardener claimed her potato-propagated plants grew so well they started requesting French fries as fertilizer. Just make sure to use fresh potatoes. Those sprouted spuds from the back of your pantry might have different plans for your garden. This technique exemplifies the Amish approach of using available food resources for multiple purposes. For modern gardeners, it offers a chemical-free alternative to rooting hormones that often provides better results. Jacob Fisher, who propagates plants to share with his community, describes his experience. I was losing about half my rose cuttings until an elder showed me the potato method. Now almost every cutting takes root. The potato provides everything the young cutting needs: steady moisture, gentle nutrition, and protection from drying out. Sometimes the old ways are still the best ways. 41. Use lemon peels as biodegradable pots. When life gives you lemons, turn them into tiny plant nurseries. Taking inspiration from the Amish tradition of utilizing every resource, emptied lemon halves make perfect biodegradable seed-starting containers. The citrus peels naturally contain nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, enriching the soil as they decompose. Research shows seedlings grown in citrus pots have 30% higher germination rates due to the antimicrobial properties of the peel. Scoop out the fruit, poke drainage holes in the bottom, fill with potting soil, and plant your seeds. The whole thing can be planted directly in the garden when ready. A creative gardener started calling her citrus nursery the Sour Patch Nursery, though the only thing sour about it was the leftover lemonade from all those emptied lemons. This approach bridges traditional waste reduction practices with modern gardening needs. For contemporary households seeking to reduce plastic use, it transforms kitchen waste into a gardening asset. Ruth Yoder, who maintains extensive herb gardens, shares we use every part of what we grow or purchase. The lemon peel pots work especially well for starting herbs. The natural oils in the rind seem to protect the young seedlings from damping off disease. Plus, the children enjoy helping prepare them, learning about both cooking and gardening in one activity. 42. Sprinkle cinnamon on seedlings. Following generations-old Amish gardening wisdom, cinnamon isn't just for baking anymore. This common spice acts as a powerful natural fungicide, protecting vulnerable seedlings from damping off disease. Laboratory tests show cinnamon reduces fungal growth by up to 80% compared to untreated soil. Just sprinkle a light dusting over the soil surface around your seedlings. Think powdered sugar on French toast, not cinnamon challenge levels. The antimicrobial properties help prevent mold and mildew while giving your greenhouse a pleasant holiday aroma. One enthusiastic gardener reported her cinnamon-protected plants grew so well, the local fungi filed a restraining order. Remember though, a little goes a long way. You're aiming for plant protection, not pumpkin spice garden beds. This spice cabinet solution exemplifies the Amish principle of using common household items for multiple purposes. For modern gardeners seeking alternatives to chemical fungicides, it offers an accessible, affordable option with proven results. Hannah Miller, who starts thousands of seedlings annually for her family's market garden, explains, damping off used to claim about a quarter of our seedlings each spring. When we started using cinnamon, losses dropped to almost nothing. It's gentler than commercial fungicides, but just as effective. Plus, the greenhouse smells wonderful during those late winter seed starting sessions. 43. Sprinkle baking soda on soil. The simple box of baking soda sitting in your kitchen could be your garden's new best friend. Drawing from Amish practices of using household items in the garden, baking soda works as a natural fungicide and pest deterrent. A light dusting creates an alkaline environment that fungal spores absolutely hate. Tests show it reduces fungal growth by up to 60%. Mix 1 tablespoon of baking soda with a gallon of water and spray it on your plant's leaves, or sprinkle it directly on the soil around acid-loving plants. The powder also confuses slugs and snails, who'd rather take a detour than cross this powdery barrier. One gardener joked that her slugs started carrying tiny umbrellas to protect themselves from the baking soda showers. Just don't go overboard. Your garden needs balanced soil, not a science fair volcano experiment. This approach represents the Amish principle of solving garden problems with pantry items rather than specialized chemicals. For today's organic gardeners, it offers an effective fungal control method without environmental concerns. Elmer Stoltzfus, whose family has farmed the same land for generations, shares powdery mildew used to ruin our squash plants every August, until an elder suggested baking soda spray. Now we apply it preventatively when humidity rises, and our plants remain healthy through harvest. The simple solutions often work best if applied consistently. 44. Add charcoal in terrariums. Taking a cue from Amish practices of creating self-sustaining systems, adding a layer of charcoal to your terrarium is like installing a natural air purifier. Activated charcoal absorbs excess moisture, filters out impurities, and prevents that funky smell that can develop in closed environments. Studies show terrariums with charcoal layers stay fresh up to 3 times longer than those without. Place a thin layer between the drainage stones and soil, essentially creating a natural Brita filter for your mini garden. A terrarium enthusiast claimed her charcoal-filtered setup became so pristine her plants started holding cleanliness competitions. But remember, you want horticultural charcoal, not the leftover bits from your last barbecue, unless you want your terrarium smelling like last summer's cookout. While terrariums are a modern gardening trend, the principle of creating balanced, self-sustaining plant environments reflects Amish values of working with natural systems. For apartment dwellers or those with limited space, terrariums offer a way to connect with plants in small spaces. Rebecca King, who creates elaborate terrariums for her community, explains, the charcoal layer is like the terrarium's water purification system. It keeps the water cycle clean as moisture evaporates and condenses inside the glass. Without it, terrariums quickly develop algae and mold problems. It's a perfect example of how adding one natural element keeps the whole system in balance. 45. Spread pencil shavings as mulch. Could your pencil sharpener be hiding garden gold? These tiny wood curls, much like the wood shavings Amish craftsmen use in their workshops, make surprisingly effective mulch. Pencil shavings are essentially cedar mulch in miniature, complete with natural pest-repelling properties. Research indicates areas mulched with pencil shavings retain up to 25% more moisture than bare soil. Spread them in a thin layer around indoor plants or container gardens. They're particularly good at deterring fungus gnats. One teacher started collecting shavings from her classroom's pencil sharpener, claiming her windowsill garden became the most pest-free plants in the school. Just stick to plain wooden pencils. Those neon-colored ones might add some unexpected flair to your garden's color scheme. This approach exemplifies the Amish principles of resourcefulness and finding uses for materials others might discard. For modern households and classrooms, it transforms what would be waste into a functional garden resource. Samuel Fisher, who maintains extensive gardens using traditional methods, explains wood shavings from our workshop have always gone into our gardens. The pencil shavings are just a smaller version of the same idea. The cedar oil naturally repels many insects while the wood itself helps maintain soil moisture. It's nature's pest control and irrigation system in one. 46. Place old sponges for drainage. Those worn-out kitchen sponges might be retired from dish duty, but they're perfect for your plant pots. Taking inspiration from Amish resourcefulness, repurposing sponges as drainage material prevents waterlogging while retaining just enough moisture for healthy roots. Research shows pots with sponge drainage layers retain up to 40% more moisture during dry spells than those with traditional gravel. Cut the sponges to fit the bottom of your pots, and they'll act like tiny water reservoirs. Studies found plants with sponge drainage systems survive 2 days longer between waterings than those without. One container gardener claimed her sponge-bottom pots became so efficient at water management, they started offering consulting services to neighboring plants. Just remember to use plain sponges. Those with soap residue might turn your next watering session into an unexpected bubble party. This technique illustrates the Amish principle that items should be fully utilized before being discarded. For modern gardeners seeking to reduce waste, it offers both an environmental benefit and improved plant performance. Mary Zook, who maintains an impressive collection of container plants, shares her experience. We started using this method during a particularly dry summer when water was scarce. The sponges hold just enough moisture to keep plants from drying out completely between waterings. For busy households or during hot weather, this extra protection makes all the difference. 47. Add Epsom salt for flowering plants. Following the time-tested wisdom of Amish gardeners, Epsom salt isn't just for soothing baths. It's like a spa treatment for your flowering plants. The magnesium and sulfur in Epsom salt support chlorophyll production and help flowers produce bigger, brighter blooms. Mix 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt per gallon of water and apply monthly during the growing season. Garden trials show plants treated with Epsom salt solution produce up to 35% more flowers than untreated ones. The magnesium boost is particularly beneficial for roses, peppers, and tomatoes. One gardener's roses grew so vibrant after Epsom salt treatments, the local bees started leaving 5-star reviews. Just don't confuse your garden's Epsom salt with your bath time supply, unless you want your evening soak to smell suspiciously like potting soil. This approach connects traditional wisdom with modern scientific understanding. While the Amish might not have known about magnesium's role in chlorophyll production, they observed the results and passed down the practice. Elizabeth Fisher, whose flower garden supplies fresh bouquets for her community, explains her method. We apply Epsom salt solution 3 times during the growing season. Once when plants first start growing, again at bud formation, and finally when flowers begin to open. The difference is noticeable not just in the number of blooms but in their size and vibrancy. It's especially effective for roses and dahlias. 48. Cover pots with plastic bags for humidity. Creating a mini greenhouse with plastic bags might sound like a modern hack, but it draws from the same principle of resource conservation that Amish farmers have used for generations. A clear plastic bag over your pots can increase humidity by up to 70%, creating perfect conditions for cuttings and humidity-loving plants. Make sure the plastic doesn't touch the leaves, using stakes if needed to keep it elevated. The enclosed environment helps maintain consistent moisture levels and temperature, boosting growth rates by up to 25%. One plant parent called her bag collection the Bag Ladies Garden Club, and swears the plants started holding exclusive meetings under their plastic domes. Remember to poke a few small holes for airflow. You're aiming for a greenhouse effect, not a plant sauna. While the Amish might use cold frames or other traditional structures to create protected growing environments, the principle remains the same. Modern applications simply use readily available materials to achieve similar results. Sarah Miller, who specializes in propagating difficult plants, shares creating the right microclimate is essential for rooting cuttings or nurturing sensitive plants. The plastic bag method mimics expensive propagation equipment without the cost. I've had nearly 100% success rooting African violet leaves. Using this simple technique, just bag, wait, and watch the magic happen. 49. Spray vinegar for ant control. Want to send ants packing without harsh chemicals? This natural solution draws from the same practical wisdom that keeps Amish gardens pest-free. White vinegar disrupts ant trails and confuses their communication system, making your garden about as navigable as a maze with no exit. Mix equal parts water and white vinegar in a spray bottle, then apply it around problem areas. Studies show vinegar solutions reduce ant activity by up to 70% within 24 hours. The acetic acid in vinegar essentially erases the chemical trails ants use to find their way, leaving them more lost than a GPS in a tunnel. One gardener reported her ant problem disappeared so quickly she spotted them carrying tiny suitcases while making their exit. Just keep the spray away from your plant's leaves. They prefer their salad dressing on the side, not as a direct spray. This approach embodies the Amish principle of addressing problems with the gentlest effective solution. For today's environmentally conscious households, it offers pest control without the concerns associated with chemical insecticides. Jacob King, whose family maintains extensive gardens without synthetic chemicals, explains ants have their place in nature, but sometimes they need redirection. The vinegar doesn't harm them. It simply removes their roadmap. Most ant colonies will relocate to less disruptive locations when their trails are consistently erased. It's about creating boundaries rather than destruction. 50. Rub aloe vera gel on plant cuts. The healing power of aloe vera isn't just for human scrapes and burns. Taking a page from Amish herbal remedies, this succulence gel can help heal plant wounds and prevent infection. The natural antibacterial properties in aloe vera gel create a protective barrier over cuts and breaks in plant stems, reducing the risk of disease by up to 50%. Simply squeeze fresh gel from an aloe leaf and gently apply it to damaged areas on your plants. The gel seals the wound, while providing nutrients that speed up the healing process. A plant enthusiast swears her aloe-treated plants recovered so well, they started offering healing services to other injured plants in the neighborhood. Remember though, a little goes a long way. You're treating a plant wound, not moisturizing a desert. This practice represents the Amish tradition of maintaining medicinal plants for both human and garden use. For modern gardeners, keeping an aloe plant as a living first aid kit serves multiple purposes in both house and garden. Emma Yoder, who maintains extensive herb gardens using traditional methods, shares her experience. When pruning or transplanting causes unavoidable damage, the aloe gel provides protection during the vulnerable healing period. We've used this method for generations on valuable plants like fruit trees and heirloom roses. The plants recover faster and have fewer complications, just as humans do when wounds are properly treated. In these uncertain times, the wisdom of Amish gardening offers more than just quaint country charm. It provides practical solutions for growing more food with fewer resources. These 50 hacks represent generations of knowledge refined through careful observation and necessity. As food prices continue to climb and supply chains remain vulnerable, incorporating these time-tested techniques into your own garden isn't just smart, it's essential. The Amish have long known what many Americans are just discovering: true food security comes from knowledge and self-sufficiency, not from grocery store shelves. Start with just a few of these methods this growing season, and you'll quickly understand why the Amish have maintained these practices for generations. Your garden will become more productive, more resilient, and more sustainable, all without expensive equipment or chemical inputs. The most valuable garden tool has always been knowledge. Now that you've discovered these 50 Amish gardening hacks, you're better equipped to face whatever challenges the future might bring. As Amish gardener Eli Miller wisely observed, the garden provides not just food for the body, but lessons for life, patience, diligence, and faith, that small efforts yield great rewards.